the state, NEMA, and all of the people working to keep everybody safe. Lots of work ahead to clear and do debris. It's going to be really important that Nebraskans, you come and you work, but if you're not working, please stay away. And I think that the salt in the earth of Nebraska is neighbors helping neighbors. The other thing, we had meetings earlier this morning with the cabinet member of the Nebraska, or of the National Emergency Management, or the federal government, and then just in the last hour I had a call from the President of the United States. We were out, so I did not get it, but he left a message. Federal government is here to help us every single step of the way, and we'll be having declarations soon. So we'll make sure that we are helping everybody. Obviously, there's sets of circumstances where there's going to be a lot of people needing a lot of help. So couldn't be more proud of the work that everybody's doing on behalf of Nebraskans. Can't thank everybody enough that you're going to hear today, because a lot of people haven't been to bed since the storm hit yesterday. And I think the other thing that's incredibly important for Nebraskans, big cells coming again this afternoon. Let's not panic. Let's follow the rules, follow the process, and make sure that we're all safe. When we go through tragedies, materialistic things are replaceable. So that's the extraordinary gift that we have. Just a couple minor injuries. I think the other thing before I get General Strong up is that obviously a lot here, but I think the Weather Service said there were over 80 events across the state. I know some folks in Greeley County, and so there were cells that did damage everywhere across the state. And so if we keep everybody across the state in our prayers, and just make sure we get through these next 24 hours being safe. And so again, can't thank everybody enough for all their work and the work that we have ahead. A lot of work ahead to clear debris, but we've got extraordinary groups of people here. So with that, I'll turn it over to General Strong. Thanks for being here, General. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor, Mayor Stoddard. This is a tough day, but what we've shown is the resilience of Nebraskans and the ability to come together in times of tragic events such as this. I want to recognize the front line, the efforts that have been made by the City of Omaha and the public safety warriors that are out there that are ensuring that this incident was handled in a very professional way and looking out for the citizens of our state. And for that, we are all indebted to both the and these are difficult times, but together with our collaboration, communication, coordination, we get through as a team. Assistant Director, I forgot to mention, Portis. I don't know if there's anything you needed to add. Otherwise,
you covered it. Until there's specific questions.
All right, we're going to turn it over to the Douglas County, back to Douglas County Emergency Management.
Thank you, General. Just to give you a quick overview, we had, as you know, we were just like everyone else. We were following the path of the tornado on your media, and I want to thank every one of you and your meteorologists and everybody who was paying attention and watching this thing. It really you don't know how valuable it is. And plus, you know, your camera footage, and you know, it just helps us tremendously. And the meteorologists that do this are technical in nature, but yet they even make it so an emergency manager can understand it. That's wonderful. So thanks again. You know, the tornado warnings went out, of course, as approach. You see the polygons on the screen. We reacted. Our emergency operations center, we started staffing that at noon yesterday. So we had some things in mind that we thought, hey, this doesn't look good. We could see what's coming up from the south. And so as things developed, we made more calls, and people, you know, COVID taught us one thing: you can work remotely and work well that way sometimes. So that really helped, because there were people that were out of town that we could deal with, of course, and that really helped. I think that as time went on, we saw what was inevitable. We saw what was happening in Lincoln. We were watching that one cell on the bottom right of our screen, and sure enough, it was getting bigger and bigger and larger and approaching Omaha. And so it wasn't long before we could see, it looks like it's going to come to the west part of the county. And as the tornado dropped down, and we saw those pictures, and all sorts of pictures. What got taken on camera yesterday are pictures that are phenomenal. And they're going to be noteworthy pictures, I think, that you're going to see in the future in publications and everything else. They were tremendous pictures of what we encountered. Well, when the tornado came by, you can't really see it necessarily, but it appeared that the tornado was dropping occasionally. It was working itself across the county. It would lift up and then come back down. Couldn't really tell for sure, but you just look at the debris flying in the air, and it looked, you know, something was happening there. We did this morning, got up, and there's some drone activities, and you'll be able to see a lot of the path of the tornado. You know, because the grass and the crops are not in the ground so much, you couldn't see a real defined path, but it was very spotty. But you could see, a trail that took it across Douglas County. So it really settled into Elkhorn, and just went up that street all around there, and then lifted up a little bit and kind of touched down along the way, all the way to Bennington. So it was one of those things that continued on to Washington County, and we kept in contact with the National Weather Service. And I want to underscore them. They had tremendous information that came out ahead of time, that they provide webinars that we can participate in that really help us, especially with the models that show us the development of these storms and the timing. The timing is a huge issue for us, and they were almost spot on accurate. So they did a real good job, and that tremendously helps us too. I think that overall we had a lot of volunteers starting on the recovery phase as soon as it went through. As you know, people from Omaha and Nebraska, as soon as something happens like that, they're outside and trying to clean up and getting back to normalcy. And people helping people, neighbors helping neighbors. And it's just amazing if you look at some house that you'll have two houses that are absolutely devastated, and the house right next to them or in between them won't be touched. It's just crazy the way tornadoes work sometimes, but it's very interesting to see some of that drone footage of that. This morning, again, it's mostly in the recovery activities. It's working a lot with our counterparts at NEMA, and every one of these is a learning experience because it's just got different personalities and different twists in the disaster. So not everyone's the same. There's no duplicate disaster. So it's a learning experience, and we appreciate all our help from the state and federal government that's come into play here, and it's been very helpful, and other speakers will talk better about that. I'd like to introduce to you Chris Franks with the Weather Service. These guys, I just can't underscore enough how thankful and grateful we are for the data and the information they get. That gives us the heads up and the opportunity to prepare and plan. As you can tell, people in Omaha, we didn't have any deaths in Omaha. All right, people prepared, they planned, they took cover. For this many people, for that big of a storm, to have the property damage that is so extensive, but the loss of life was not there. It's a tremendous attribute to the city of Omaha and the people of Douglas County.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Paul mentioned, I'm Chris Franks. I'm with the National Weather Service. Echo all the comments I've heard thus far. It's truly remarkable. You see events like this around the country with this level of damage on tornadoes on the ground for this long, and almost inevitably you end up with fatalities or critical injuries in multiple. So it's a true testament, not just to the people that help get the forecasts and warnings out, but at the end of the day, the employers that held their employees and put them in a shelter or sent people home early, daycare providers, parents that did the right thing. So a lot of people at the end of the warning did the right thing, and that's really all that matters. So thanks to all those who did the right thing, to listen to the warnings and took it seriously, and no doubt that helped us with people with injuries and maybe even fatalities. So I'm just going to give a quick update on where we are with the damage surveys. So this morning we got together and we have 5 teams out there currently. We set out just after sunset. As mentioned, we have 2 areas that we're looking at, 2 tornado paths just in Douglas County, but there's other damage throughout the state of Nebraska, and then across the river in Iowa, we have some pretty significant damage as well. So the preliminary estimates right now are solid EF3 damage, so that's winds in the range of 135 to 165 miles per hour. That is with the tornado that started in the Lincoln area and then tracked northeast kind of along I-80 and ended up in the West Metro, Western Douglas County, then before it exited after it passed through Blair. So that's one area of damage. The second area of damage, the tornado that touched down right, sort of formed right over Epley Airfield and then quickly moved off into Iowa. Preliminary damage is EF2, so that wind range is 110 to 135. So these are strong tornadoes, rare tornadoes. A tornado, even anywhere in any community, is rare on any given day. But to have tornadoes that are in the less than 10% chance of occurring happen in and around the metro area is extraordinary. Again, with the lack of fatalities and the critical injuries. So again, thanks to all those in the room here, and then those watching that did the right thing to get the warning out. Yeah, the survey process will take some time. They'll come back later this evening. We'll get together and try to get some more details on the damage path. But this is sort of a multi-day survey event. It'll continue tomorrow and probably even into Monday. So thank you, everyone. I'm going to toss it back over to our Douglas County Commissioner, Mary Ann.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. And on behalf of the Douglas County Board, our chair was unable to be with us today. So Commissioner Friend and I are here, and we actually represent the areas that were affected by the tornado. And as I started to look and think about what I was going to say, it brought me back, and I've talked to the mayor of Valley and the mayor of Waterloo already, and it's like it took us back to 2019. When we had the floods, and I stood with a lot of the folks that are here today. We stood together. We stood together for the residents of Douglas County and all of the communities that were affected, and we're doing the same for this. You know, when you look at that and you talk to the residents and you see the damage and the devastation, one thing that's really amazing is the resiliency of our communities. The outreach that has already occurred, and all of you who are sitting here who have put out your hands and been out there today to help, is absolutely extraordinary. And so what we want to do today is let the residents know that we aren't walking in front of you, we aren't walking behind you, we are walking beside you through this terrible, terrible devastation, and we will be here till the end. And we thank all of you, seriously, for your helping hand in this manner. So let's keep up the good work. Let's stay strong, as they say, Nebraska strong. We will definitely continue to do that. And I want to thank the governor for being here with us today and help us get through all of this. So thank you very much. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Stothert.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Well, what brings us here today is not a pleasant situation,
but it is critically important that we're all here and together today. I would like to start with a message of support and concern for all of those, as Marianne said, that are experiencing the direct loss and are deeply affected by what has happened in the last day or so. And I really also want to emphasize our city and their partners, our governmental partners. I have received calls today from all over Nebraska mayors, including the mayor of Lincoln, asking whatever they can do to help bring in their police departments, their fire departments, whatever they can do. And then our nonprofit partners, which I think came out just immediately, and I'm so grateful for, from Omaha Community Foundation, United Way, Salvation Army, Red Cross. All of those have come together to really help us provide the shelter and the safety and the resources that are desperately needed by some of these folks. And I do want to thank our local forecasters for the clear and accurate warnings that they gave, and all of you in the news media with your reports that we're continuing through this time. I absolutely feel like this early warning, because of all of you and because of the weather forecasters and the alarms that went off and the sirens, you prevented a lot of injury and probably death. So again, thank you all for what you did yesterday. The first responders, Omaha Fire Department, Omaha Police Department, they will speak in a little bit, but they mobilized very, very quickly and set up command centers out west, even before I think the storm had passed. Omaha Fire Department quickly went into search and rescue, went through every single property that was affected. They were done by about 9:30 last night, and was fortunately reported that they did not find any victims. There was just a few minor injuries, and that again is something we're all very, very grateful for. I will sign a declaration this afternoon, emergency declaration, or a proclamation, I would rather call it. And it allows us to get reimbursements from the state and federal government, but to also alert our citizens that this was definitely an unplanned event, and it will be a very expensive event, that the city will put in a lot of money to make sure that we recover the way we need to be recovering. The city will operate a site for free disposal of debris. That was established today by Parks and Rec and our Public Works Department at 209th and Park Drive, which is in the north parking lot of Greenbrier Park. And those hours will be 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., and it will be open daily until further notice. So this is just vegetation, trees, limbs, things from the storms that will be accepted, and they won't be accepting from debris from hire contractors. So we want to make sure that you are aware of that. And there are, and we want people to arrive through Park Drive from the north and exit the dump from the south. So we want to make sure everybody is aware of that. Earlier we said that the landfill was taking debris today too, but to some that is quite a way off. Updates are going to be available starting today, this morning, from the City of Omaha's webpage at cityofomaha.org, and there's a tab called Emergency. So we want to make sure everybody knows that we will be updating those frequently during the day. Our community center out in Elkhorn, Common Ground, that's at 1701 Veterans Drive. That has been open from yesterday evening, working with the Red Cross for shelter for anyone that needs it. We were told last evening there was approximately 100 people that needed shelter, and so we had that opened up last evening. Of course, it's closed for swimming and for recreation until further notice. We want people to know that they could report property damage by calling 211, or you can report it online too. OPPD, well, I don't know if they're here or not, but they may give an update. There you are. On power, I've been talking to Javier Fernandez probably hourly since this happened. At our peak, we had 10,200 homes, properties that were without power. We're down to about 4,300 now, but a lot of the distribution network was damaged. And so they continue to work on restoring the power. Epley Airfield, Dave Roth is here today, but they reported they have reopened for aircrafts. There are some delays that are going to be expected, and I think that he will give a more detailed report about the airport. Our planning department with the City of Omaha, their GIS, they sent up drones today and to assess the damage. And the one thing that our city code does allow, I asked Councilman Brinker Harding if he would introduce a resolution to exempt building permit fees related to storm damage, and he's going to do that on Tuesday for the City Council's consideration. So I thank you for doing that too. And so with that, we just, again, we really, really are very fortunate of the lack of injuries and not any deaths that happened because of this storm. It came quickly, but again, I am so grateful to all of our media, our news media, all of our weather stations, National Weather Service and Storm Central too, for the work they did, and I absolutely feel that this early warning did prevent a lot of injury and death. So thank you all. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Lindsay Hughes. I'm the director at Douglas County Health Department. And on behalf of our department, I'd really like to start by expressing our heartfelt condolences to those in our community who have been impacted by this event, and to those outside of our community also that are experiencing damage and just the impacts coming from yesterday's storms. Our goal is to continue to protect the health of the people who live here in Douglas County, and to that end, we have started numerous activities as the health department. So even while we were under the storm threat and we were huddled in the basement of the health department building, we were still planning for what kinds of responding we could anticipate seeing as soon as the storm lifted. And as soon as that storm did pass, we were able to start collaborating and interfacing with our community partners at the Emergency Operations Center immediately to coordinate response and communications. So some of the activities that we've already seen happen today, our food inspection supervisor has actually already been out in the field. We actually went out last night to assess the just the environmental safety of the facility that is used, the Common Grounds facility that was stood up to serve as a shelter for those needing it. I have to say that they did an absolutely phenomenal job setting up that shelter. The Red Cross and Common Grounds clearly worked very closely together to create a very calming and welcoming environment for anyone who was going to need that shelter. And we did not find any issues there. We also had our food safety supervisor out in the field this morning to provide support to any restaurants or food establishments in the impacted areas if they had lost water or power or had issues that would impact their ability to open to the public. We were there to help them identify those issues and work through what needed to happen so that they could reopen as quickly as possible. So that's already been accomplished. And we also are working with numerous other response partners in the community just to make sure that volunteer food safety or food feeding areas are safe and food prep is going smooth there. We are also working with our sanitation leadership to assure that we are addressing any concerns that come up regarding water, septic, vector control, and any nuisance issues that might come up over the coming weeks. We're so lucky to only have a handful of injuries. Our hospital systems were in communication before the storm had passed. We had a meeting at 5:30 yesterday as the Omaha Metro Community Care Coalition, and the hospitals that were able to be on that call reported that they had perhaps lost power and had gone to generators, but there was no interruption really to operations. They were all open for patients, and as of this morning had heard of less than a couple dozen injuries. All patients have been treated and released, and that is just miraculous considering the scope of what we saw happen yesterday. So that is just incredible, and I think really is due to the amazing partners and of course our weather teams who made sure people knew very early to take shelter. We've also been releasing information through multiple media channels. I'm sure those of you in the media have already gotten several of our releases today. These releases are to educate the public regarding food, water, environmental safety. We'll continue to do that based on the needs that come up in our community, and we are also working to update our website at Douglas County Health Department so that there's kind of a one-stop shop for any of those environmental health concerns that come up. If people are looking for resources or need answers, they can go there to get that information. We are also currently exploring how best to provide tetanus vaccinations to responders and those who are assisting with cleanup. We'll have more information on that in maybe a day, as we are currently working through the logistics of that with our partners at the Department of Health and Human Services at the state. We do recommend, if people have been injured by the storm or in the process of cleanup, that they seek out a healthcare provider to have that evaluated, to have that wound properly cleaned. And then if it's been less than 5 years or more than 5 years, since your last tetanus shot, we do recommend a tetanus shot for that. And again, we will be putting out more information very soon about our availability with that. In the hours that have passed since this disaster, I have been incredibly impressed by the kindness and the willingness of those who live in our community to care for their neighbors. It makes me really proud to have been born and raised in Nebraska. And we are grateful to be part of Douglas County, and we continue to stand ready to serve you during this difficult time. And with that, I will pass the mic on to Sheriff Aaron Hansen. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Douglas County Sheriff Aaron Hansen. Hopefully that mud trail that you might have encountered on the way in, that's probably the governor and I. We just came from many areas of the county, which can clearly be considered, in my opinion, a disaster scene. Very unfortunate. Many people have lost everything, their homes. I'd like to thank all the first responders, the police, the deputies, the firefighters, both paid and volunteer, that responded quickly to go house to house to ensure that we did not have any victims in need. But even just as important was the street crews working for the county and the city that had to clear the way with heavy equipment so the first responders could respond. In terms of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, we have primary jurisdiction over unincorporated Douglas County. That's primarily the western half of Douglas County. We are working very closely with our partners in the western, smaller police and fire jurisdictions. Actually, we will be establishing a new command post after this event here, specifically for western Douglas County activities. We will have extra patrols for the foreseeable future. We do have a lot of extremely damaged neighborhoods, and we want to make sure that the people who are in there are either the people who are supposed to be in there because they live there, or the people who are working there to help those people. We definitely do not want to make it easy for anybody who wants to victimize those people. If you fall into that category, and if you find yourself considering a trip to those parts of our community, please think again. Our partners in law enforcement and the Sheriff's Office will intercept you. And finally, please consider very carefully staying home. We have another wave of storms coming. I think Paul Johnson mentioned that. Right now, your focus should be in hardening your own house. I've seen lawnmowers wrapped around trees. I've seen bicycles wrapped around trees. I've seen steel chairs sticking through walls of homes. Secure your own property first. Please do not drive into these impacted areas. The governor and I were just driving around, and we were stuck in multiple traffic jams throughout the county. And that's because, in large part, there's a lot of looky-loos who are very curious. Please do not drive into these impacted areas. Not only are you causing traffic jams, but people can get hurt on these secondary responses to these disaster areas, and they may require emergency services as well. And if the traffic is jammed and all the cars are parked on the other side of the road, you could put them and their loved ones at extreme risk. Lastly, if you do want to help, again, as previous speakers mentioned, we have such a giving, caring community. One of the best ways that you can help either is contact 211 and ask how you can, or go through an organized volunteer effort like the Omaha Rapid Response. Don't just go out on your own and try to help in your own way, even though you may have good intentions. Make sure you're doing it in an organized way, such as with Omaha Rapid Response. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Waterloo Fire Chief Travis Harlan.
Good afternoon, and thanks, Sheriff, for having me today. Yesterday's weather event was fast, devastating, and very destructive. In the Waterloo district, we had approximately 115 volunteers from 4 fire departments Waterloo, Valley, Utan, and Boys Town. We also had multiple law enforcement agencies with the Waterloo PD, Valley PD, OPD, State Patrol, Game and Parks, and then our Douglas County Sheriff's Department. Several volunteers left their basements and their loved ones to come out and help our citizens of the Western Douglas County and Waterloo Fire District. Most of our damage for the Waterloo Fire District was south of Dodge Street, north of F Street, and east of 252nd to the Elkhorn River. Currently we have crews out assisting homeowners, mainly just going in and trying to recover some of their tangible items. We will continue to assist and support the residents over the next coming days, getting into the residents and getting any valuables that we can help them get. Most importantly, our community had minor injuries. I think every one of the speakers up here have said that. It's it shows that we had minor injuries and no deaths with such a catastrophic incident. With that, I thank you. I'll turn it over to Fire Chief Dan Mallory.
Thank you all for coming. Fire Chief Dan Mallory of the Bennington Suburban Fire District. The Bennington area was affected severely by this storm. Many of us watched this tornado come into the area. This is an area, like Chief Hartland has said, a lot of our firefighters live in the area, so it's home, and it hits home. This call came in. Before the call came in, let me back up a little bit. I want to thank the media and the Weather Service again for the early warning that allowed us to bring personnel in to be prepared for anything that may happen. These aren't events that normally happen in our area. We just don't see that very often, but we have to be prepared for it. So that time, that early notification gave us adequate time to get enough crews on scene in our station on standby, just in case there's anything that should happen. We responded with 35 firefighters out of the Bennington Fire Station and was on scene within 4 minutes of the touchdown. So we watched it come through town, come through the neighborhood, and we were right behind it and was able to activate our search and rescue and get in and clear out the streets in a timely manner. We wrapped up operations roughly at 2000 or 8 o'clock in the evening. So our main concern damage-wise was Newport Landing, Bennington Lake, and the Woodland Crossing neighborhood. And between those two subdivisions, we're estimating about 60 to 65 homes that are severely damaged. We also cover a small area of Washington County. So we had crews that go up to Washington County, and we encountered another 6 to 10 homes and farmsteads that were completely devastated. So this was very widespread for us. And again, we can't thank the media enough, the Weather Service, and the early notification. It helped tremendously. With that, a couple of things. If you're in the Bennington area and you have debris, they did set up a temporary debris drop-off site. It is just south of the Bennington Fire Station. It's Bennington Boulevard and 156th Street. On the west side, there's a vacant lot. There's signs in place for dropping off tree debris or any storm debris. So if you can't make it to landfill, that is a resource if you're in the Bennington area. Last thing I should say, or I'd like to mention, is for those of you that were not impacted by this storm, I think this is a testament to how you're supposed to react. Our first responders remained calm, did a fantastic job, but the citizens took it serious. No loss of life, very few injuries. They took it serious. They got to their basements, they followed their instructions that they were given, and I think that is fantastic. So even if you weren't involved with this, this should be a lesson for everybody in this area to take these things serious, have a plan for your family, and follow that plan. With that, I will turn this over to Chief Smaller.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to talk about continuity of policing services in the Omaha area. Anytime there's a large natural disaster, any large event that's going to take a large number of public safety officers, I want the community to know that we always have a backup plan. We will call on extra officers. We will rely on mutual aid till they get in. So last night, there was never a time in any quadrant of our city that you couldn't call 911 if you needed Omaha police. We will continue to do that tonight if we need to, and into the future. For tonight, until or unless we get another storm, Omaha Police Department's focused on site security and safety and augmenting anything the Omaha Fire Department may need. I'm going to close by just saying last night showed us the power of neighbors, showed us the power of community. That neighbor right next door to you that you might have watched a little bit of the storm with, the community in your neighborhood, that's your first line of defense. We're going to be there as quickly as we can, but that neighbor is your first line of defense and you are theirs. That's the beauty of Omaha and Douglas County. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Mossman. I'm the Omaha Fire Chief. I'll keep my comments brief. I want to just acknowledge that our crews were dispatched immediately. They were on scene before 4 o'clock p.m. As the mayor said, our crews were on scene and searching before the storm had completely passed. Our crews completed their detailed search around 9:30 in the evening. They worked diligently and they treated every interaction with the public with professionalism and compassion. Our crews, when they arrived on scene initially, were driving into the neighborhoods as our neighbors were literally crawling out of their damaged properties, and our firefighters reported the shock that they could see on our neighbors' faces. It's a very impactful incident on all of the first responders, all of the Omaha community, and I'm incredibly proud of how our community has responded. As of today, the Omaha Fire Department has still only treated 2 storm-related injuries. Both were very minor, and as has already been said, we have had no fatalities. We are grateful for the outpouring of support. We have firefighters who lost their homes in this storm, and we understand the significance and the impact that this will have on our community for a number of months and years to come. We are prepared today. Should we have future storms this afternoon or evening, our Omaha firefighters are prepared to respond. And I will close my comments and introduce Omaha Airport Authority, Josh Murray.
Good afternoon, I'm Dave Roth with the Omaha Airport Authority. First and foremost, on behalf of the Airport Authority, our thoughts and prayers go out to those folks who were impacted yesterday in the events of our community and those folks out at Epley Airfield as well. We are thankful to share, after the tornado touchdown at Epley, we had no injuries out at the airport. The focus of the Airport Authority throughout the event was the safe and secure air operations. Prior to yesterday, just as many folks have talked today, prior to those early warnings, we set up incident command and started preparing for the event several days before. As a recap, yesterday at approximately 5 p.m., a funnel cloud was observed forming over Epley Airfield, and a tornado then touched down shortly thereafter on the east side of the airport, which we would call general aviation. The airport then was immediately closed to aircraft activity by the Airport Authority staff. The passengers within the terminal were then moved over to sheltering areas throughout the event. After an assessment of the airfield after the tornado touched down, the airport was then reopened at 5:59, so we were closed less than an hour. We reviewed the damage of the airport. While there was a significant property damage event on the east side, very little operational impact at the airport. There was no impact to the passenger terminal. There was also no impact to the construction of our Build OMA project that is going on today. The tornado did take a path that struck down 4 of our hangars owned by the Airport Authority over in the general aviation area. Those 4 hangars house 31 private aircraft from general aviation. The 4 hangars were completely destroyed, and the tornado resulted in significant damage to those aircraft. The tornado also struck several other hangars that are private use hangars on the other side. There were also aircraft damage within those hangars. All in all, we're looking at several millions of dollars, just like our entire community of damage. The Airport Authority is focused on cleanup and recovery efforts right now. We're receiving assistance from Hawkins Construction and Hymas Construction. Both of them mobilized last night and started working on the recovery methods with us, and we will continue on forward. We're also working with our individual airport tenants and aircraft operators regarding their specific impacts to their aircraft and properties. We are focused on the recovery right now, making sure it's a safe operation. We have closed the east side of the airport, so you cannot drive around there unless there's a specific need to fly in and out of the airport with general aviation, or if you're working over in that area. And as soon as we have a safe operation over in that area, we'll go ahead and open it back up. Looking ahead, this coming week, it's still a huge event here in Omaha with Berkshire Hathaway. We looked at this will be no impact whatsoever on Berkshire Hathaway. The airport is open for business. We will continue to bring aircraft in, arriving and departing throughout the event, and we will remain open from here on out. Thank you very much. Next person will be Josh Murray.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am not Josh Murray. I'm Jill Orton. I'm with the American Red Cross. I am the Nebraska-Iowa Regional Executive, and we just want to acknowledge yesterday was the worst day in some Nebraskans' lives, and our hearts go out to them because they are figuring out what their new normal is going to look like. And because of all of you in this room, the care and concern, and the strong Nebraskans will continue to come forward as great partners to be able to provide services that they need. So briefly, what is the American Red Cross doing? Well, we are actively coordinating with local emergency management in areas where affected so that they have a place to go for mass care sheltering needs. We have 2 shelters opened right now, Common Ground, here in Omaha, in Elkhorn, at 1701 Veterans Drive. We also have a shelter opened at First Lutheran Church on 2146 Wright Street in Blair. As the need may arise over time, we will ebb and flow, open, close, and go where the need is. Anyone is welcome in our shelters. Do not need to provide any documentation. We will work with those that need a place to stay or a place to share that they are in need of services, and we'll help start connecting them to those services. Anyone that has been affected and has damage can call 1-800-RED-CROSS, and we can start that process. We have volunteers that are now starting out in our communities to do damage assessment, and we will be here till the end, and it takes a community to make this happen. So thank you all for what you do, and continue to be prepared by downloading whatever that emergency app is. You can go to your phone app, you can find what that is, and stay informed. And also know, if you don't know your neighbors, make the point to go see them so we can continue to be strong across our communities. Thank you. Next is Shauna. Oh. Yep.
All right.
So, United Way partner. Thanks, Shauna.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Shauna Forsberg. I'm the president and CEO of United Way of the Midlands. I don't think we can all say enough how hard it's been for many neighbors here in the community, and I think this is just a true testament to our state and to our city, and how quickly we've been able to work together to try to address those challenges. United Way has developed a Nebraska and Iowa Tornado Relief Fund, with 100% of the donations made to the fund will go directly to nonprofit programs to help people with emergency shelter and essential needs like food and clothing. To donate, you can go to unitedwaymidlands.org/tornado relief or text tornado 24 to 41444. I'm happy to share that we've had several lead gifts to help start this fund, including contributions from Nebraska, Children's Hospital, Union Pacific, Schooler, Physicians Mutual, Woodman Life, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Conagra Brands Foundation, Owen Industries, Lindsay Corporation, Nomi Health, NP Dodge, and Haley Residential. And I think that list is just a true testament to our amazing community and people stepping up to help each other right out of the gate. The other thing that United Way has been very involved with is the 211 helpline, which serves Nebraska and Iowa. And we're partnering with the Douglas County Emergency Management Agency to take storm damage reports from individuals within the county. People that are in need can call with post-storm assistance and connect to a helpline person 21 or 24/7. They can call 211, text their zip code to 898-211, or visit nebraska211.org. United Way is also taking signups for volunteers who would like to assist with the cleanup recovery efforts, but that's going to be held until it's safe to do so. And we're working closely with the Sheriff's Office to determine when that makes sense. There's also things you can do remote to assist. So we encourage you to call 211 if you need it. If you're able to help, please do so. There's a lot of people really hurting, and we'd appreciate your help. Now, I am the final person. I know you're all very excited about that. Everyone here is willing to answer any questions you may have, so thank you.
General or Governor, can you give us a little bit of a sense, county by county, of what the scope of this storm's damage is to the state right now?
I'm a Earth Fortis Assistant Director, Nebraska Emergency Management Agency. Late yesterday afternoon, we pulled in staff to the NEMA Watch Center and began contacting county emergency managers from essentially Grand Island east to the Missouri River. And right now, the majority of the damage is in Douglas County, some Saunders County, Lancaster County, and Washington County areas. Those are the communities where we have emergency declarations at this point.
Any sense on how many homes lost, any sense on how many businesses at this point?
We're still collecting that information, and probably will be for several days. But at least in the Douglas County area, we're well over 150. Okay.
And a question also for the governor or for the general. I'm wondering if there is any consideration at this point of bringing in the National Guard for assistance.
At this point, the National Guard is in a standby status and reserve. We follow the incident management system, working with Douglas County Emergency Management to the extent that there are capabilities that require National Guard support. We have those capabilities available. But at this time, we have no formal request for assistance, but we are standing by and prepared.
We've visited with Sheriff of Douglas County, Sheriff Hansen, and I think right now we're talking we can mobilize Nebraska State Patrol to be able to give some help with some security if they need the support.
Feel free to fire questions. We'll get you the right people. I wanted to mention too that we have people here. Mayor of Valley over here. We also have OPPD here, 911. We're going to thank also Douglas County GIS for the tremendous work that they did throughout this, and County Engineer, Douglas County Environmental. They're not here right now, but I'll tell you, they've done a lot of work through the night and this morning for this effort. So continue to fire your questions. I just want to bring those points out. And like I say, there are other people here that can answer your questions, I'm sure. Thank you.
Hey, Paul.
Yes.
So you've been through disasters before. Many of these people haven't. What do you tell them in terms of what to expect in the coming days and weeks?
Good question. You know, there's so many things that no disaster follows the same exact pattern. And if there's one thing that we've learned here, as the number of disasters that we have, that we respond to, you learn that so many times the people you've worked with and trained, they come in and they know what to do. A lot of times the people you train are not the ones that are available on that day. So it's one of those things that throughout every disaster, you got to be in the mindset that sometimes you have to start over from square one, gather the right people, make the right contacts, and it's just a lot of work, and it doesn't quit in an hour or two or at all. It just continues to go on and on and on. So I tell people, you got to be prepared to be unprepared, because you just don't know what you're going to be confronted with. And these different disasters, they have different perspectives. Some are more public assistance damage, some are more individual assistance damage from the people that live here. So they all take a different perspective, but we learn from all of them, and the lessons learned are what we carry on from disaster to disaster.
We know about power outages and gas stations. Is there any concern about the safety of the water supply?
I talked to MUD this morning. I don't think they're here. MUD said no. They had no concerns at this time, that the water systems and the transmission of the water was satisfactory and up to whatever their expectations are. So they had no concerns about that. Their main concern was the gas lines.
For folks who maybe don't understand when they hear things like a disaster declaration and the different types of aid that might become available if those things are approved, what do you tell them about how this process works and when each level of aid might become available and how they might look into it?
I do. I somehow knew he was going to do that. We're preparing right now for the governor's signature a disaster declaration where we're going to look at three elements. And the first one is public assistance, and that's probably poorly named. Public assistance means publicly owned infrastructure, and has that been damaged? So we'll work with Douglas County, the cities who have been impacted, the city of Omaha, and others to assess what's been damaged. I've even been collecting some information on what I'm listing. Omaha Police and Omaha Fire, they've been through this multiple times. I'm sure they're already putting together their records, their overtime and their equipment, volunteer fire departments, their time and equipment. So we'll collect all that information and then begin to work with FEMA Region 7 for preliminary damage assessments. Individual assistance, that's a FEMA program for private property owners, primarily for principal residences. It's a complex formula as to whether or not a state will qualify for that. I think we can get there, but we've got to work with FEMA on that. That will then be assistance after insurance to the owners of those primary residences. So we'll work on that. And then the other one is Small Business Administration and low interest loans through SBA to those private property owners. Answer your question?
Chief Blossman, I have a quick question. You mentioned the unfortunate that some firefighters lost their homes. Were they on duty? Were they riding it out, or were they responding?
At least two of the firefighters were not on duty. One reported to duty this morning, and he was very emotional, understandably. The other resides in Minden, Iowa, and his property was significantly damaged. Like, we have one other, but I don't have details on his property.
What words did you have for him?
I haven't had a chance to speak to him personally today. The one that is on duty for sure, he's been busy and responding to calls. I passed him on the street, but haven't been able to connect directly yet. But my message would certainly be one of compassion for them and offering whatever assistance we can provide.
Chief Schneider, you have several officers who've lost their homes as well, is that right?
If I could make one point add on to follow up on what Irv talked about, one of the challenges we have in Nebraska, right? We just roll up our sleeves. We don't ask for help. For us to be able to make sure that we have everything documented for the declarations, we need Nebraskans to not be so humble. We need Nebraskans to come up and ask for help, because that's going to be a key piece that we're able to have the amounts be the level that we get federal declarations and federal help. Really, really critical that neighbors say, hey, I'll ask for help this time.
And who should they notify?
Yeah, the best piece is going to Nina, to Irv's team.
That's
Douglas County?
I would ask people to work through their local resources, would get to the local emergency management agencies that can then get reported up to us. Thanks.
No worries. So we did have some officers lose their homes. A couple of my high-level commanders actually lost their homes. They contacted me. They would have had a role in last night's events. I asked them to tap out, take care of their families, and we elevated somebody else into their position just to assume operations for what Omaha and Douglas County went through last night. They are in the process of cleaning it up. I've asked them to take care of that aspect of their lives first. When we're done with that, we're ready to take them back. But until then, they're not going to be of any value to us, and I'm not even asking that. So that's my answer to your question. Does that answer it?
I have a question for Chris Franks. Regarding the tornado, do you feel reasonably certain at this time that it was a single tornado all the way from Lincoln and all the way through? And how long was it on the ground altogether?
That is something we're still looking at. There's a chance that that there was enough of a gap that we're going to count it as 2 tornadoes, but that's something that the survey team is working on. It did sort of cycle. It was really strong on the northeast side of Lincoln. Did again EF3 damage, so at 135 to 165, and then the whole circulation sort of weakened. Very common with these storms, and then it spun up very, very quickly once it got into the West Metro Elkhorn area. So that is that's something we're looking at. But regardless, even if it sort of skipped along, you know, the damage is still pretty consistent. There might be some gaps, but that's something we look at. We go up and down the damage path and try to determine not just the strength, but the number of tornadoes, which the governor mentioned the 80 tornado reports. Some of those are going to end up being the same tornado reported multiple times.
And what was the total time?
For the track? So the tornado emergency in Elkhorn was issued right around 3:30. It moved out of Blair across the river around 4:15. So if you backtrack from there all the way to Lincoln, it was over an hour. So it kind of crossed the Omaha Metro about a half hour, 25 minutes or so. But if you look at the whole life cycle of the tornadic storm, it was over an hour. And we had several storms like that continuing into Iowa. So very long-lived, persistent, damaging tornadoes.
So just to clarify, last night the weather service said 6 tornadoes. Were they talking touchdowns?
So that's still up in the air. Yeah, there was. There ended up being 80 reports. So those are confirmed. We feel confident when we put out those reports. Those are either visual evidence or a reliable spotter or law enforcement. Or in this case now with our new technology, we can actually see debris on our radar. So there's a number of ways we can confirm reports, and there was 80 of them last night. But we just don't know the final total. We won't probably for a couple days.
How rare is that number?
The 80 reports. When you look at the span of the whole country, there's a few times a year where you maybe get close to that, but for a single location, pretty rare. So again, at the end of the day, we'll figure out just how many tornadoes happened. We did get a lot more reports because it was near the Omaha Metro, so a lot of eyes on these storms. Started in Lincoln. The strength of the storms is probably what was a little bit more unusual. To have storms that are EF3 right in a metro area or in hitting population is something that you don't see all the time, right? You'll see big tornadoes maybe out in, kind of going through a farm field or something like that. It just given the nature of the space that these storms occupy, right? They're more likely to hit just open areas. So the unusual nature here, and really what concerned us, was the proximity to a lot of people and very, very strong tornadoes.
Did you receive any reports last night of multiple vortex tornadoes, and can you confirm any of those?
Yeah, several. And in fact, we saw video evidence in real time, sort of the value of cameras and real-time information. You can see some of this as it's unfolding. And yeah, sometimes you don't always see the multiple vortex. These are what it is. You got a single kind of wedge tornado with multiple circulations. Sometimes it's one big kind of gray mass, but in this case, you could kind of see through some of the water droplets and some of the rain droplets, and you could actually see multiple vortices. It doesn't happen with every big tornado, but we had several reports of that, and we have video evidence of it. So.
Any last questions?
And storms are coming, so batten down the hatches. We've got lightning and heavy rain approaching Douglas County, so be safe.
What was the volume of calls into 911 last night? And was 911 overwhelmed at any time? Did they get to all the calls?
Kathy?
I think T already answered.
Did she?
T already answered.
Okay. I spoke with her yesterday.
Okay.
I checked with 911 Director Kathy Allen yesterday. She indicated they were operating normally. They had actually called in extra staff, rightfully so, and by all indications did a very professional job and was up to par.
All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.